Hey guys, welcome to the Nick Bahe YouTube page. You know what you need to do. You need to subscribe, you need to ring the bell, you need to like the page, you need to leave a comment. I appreciate you. Don't even give me a chance. I'm not even giving you a chance to tell me to know. We've only just begun. Name the singer.
We've only just...
Well,
Karen Carpenter.
Well, actually, I was going Glenn Jones.
Oh my God!
I wasn't going.
No, you weren't going
wow.
the most famous version of it. You were going Glenn Jones, 1988. Oh, I dig it though. I dig it.
Yours is so the answer.
Yeah.
Yours is one.
But actually, with you, my answer was incorrect.
Okay. Wow. We're not even 40 seconds into it. We've already had a bad moment. Hey. Shouts out to Onyx Automotive because they make this whole thing possible. They're the best of Omaha, #1 luxury car dealer. I drove by the lot the other day when they're for doing a Creighton game. I love the location. 150th and Dodge. They got the top brands, man. BMW, Jaguar, Land Rover. Check them out online. OnyxAutomotive.com. Drive Onyx, the new standard, and Shoot 360 Lincoln fired up tonight, by the way. We've had an NIL partnership with Alexis Markowski, baller for the Nebraska women's team. Jazz Shelley, baller for the Nebraska women's team. They're doing an open workout. By the time people listen to this, it'll be over. They're doing an open workout tonight at Shoot 360. People can come watch the workout, get autograph, take a picture. Like, I am pumped. I'm bringing Mava. Watch Jazz and Alexis ball out. So, I mean, we got big things going on. Go to shoot360.com/Lincoln. If you want to become a member, I'm telling you, man, we're building something special there. All right, my friend. We're not going to talk about Glenn Jones. We've only just begun. That's not go hard. Anybody right now, people, just do that later. Make a note. You need to find Glenn Jones. We've only just begun, and that'll give you a sense of who I really am. Okay, you choose, my friend. Where do we start? It's Nebraska, Maryland. Nebraska loses 13-10. Do you want to have an appetizer for the table? Do we just want to go straight to the main course? I mean, we can do an appetizer and talk about maybe the quarterbacks and the offense and whatnot, or do we want to go straight to the main course, which is the final sequence of things, and then kind of work our way back? What do you...
Let's hit the final sequence, and then we need to talk.
That's kind of... See, this is why you and I know Glenn Jones. We've only just begun. Let's fast forward right to the final 5 minutes of the game. Incredible that Nebraska was able to force a fumble inside the 5-yard line. Javin Wright pops it free. Jason Peter Jr. him and Jason, Ty Robinson and Jason Peter have probably had wrestling matches for fumbles in the basement while playing.
Been training for this for years, Nick. For years,
Jason Peter has got him ready for this moment to recover a fumble with the game on the line. Crazy though. Recover it. Here comes Chubba. There's been a lot of Chubba chatter.
There's been Chubba chatter.
Everybody laughed at my Chubba chatter, but who's laughing now?
There's been Chubba chatter since the Chubba chatter episode. I got a random text from somebody that said Chubba chatter ? And I didn't know who it was from. So it's one of those that whoever
what do you do? What do you do?
I go, who is this?
Did you hit him with the who is this, or did you go
Not yet. I just figured maybe they'll
give it time.
Give it time.
There's nothing worse than
people like the Chubba chatter.
People do enjoy the Chubba chatter. So there was Chubba chatter. Here he comes.
Yeah.
Now, why there was Chubba chatter and Chubba's in at the end of the game, we will go back and unpack all of this. But I just think this game comes down to this sequence in some ways. So the drive starts at the Nebraska's own 3-yard line. Chubba Purdy leads Nebraska 92 yards down the field, all the way down to the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
Chubba had the hard scramble run that got him out of the shadow of their own end zone for 13 yards. On 3rd down, he hits Billy Kemp with a nice throw for 24 yards. Chubba had another really good run down the left sideline. We ran tough to get 9 yards. Emmett Johnson, probably his best run as a Husker.
Yeah.
Would you agree? I mean,
yes.
Best run as a Husker, 29 yards, bounces it, cuts back, breaks a couple of tackles. Looked like, damn. I mean, were you listening to Glenn Jones before the game?
Emmett Johnson or Emmett Smith?
Are you Emmett Smith out there? Or you Emmett Johnson? Because I'm not totally sure at this point. He goes 29 yards. And then Chubba has another incredible run where he breaks a couple of tackles, cuts back into the middle of the field for 11 yards all the way to the 5-yard line. Here comes the sequence. Not sure if you listened to Matt Rule's postgame press conference, but so 1st and goal at the 5. That was supposed to be a handoff.
Yes, in Chubba.
And Chubba pulled it and then, had...
It was a smart play thrown out of bounds at that point. It was actually the smart... I thought, oh, good job, Chubba, getting it out of bounds. But I don't know how you call a run play that the quarterback just pulled.
So I was going to ask you that. Like, when it comes to how much football I really know and have played, it's minimal compared to you and compared to what Matt Rule and Marcus Satterfield and all that stuff do. I mean, it's, there are levels to this thing. Explain that to me. How is there? That seems like an improbable.
What I don't know is this. It sounded like I read it in the paper. It sounded like Matt Rule was making it clear, like this wasn't an RPO. This was a handoff. And Chubba either didn't know that or Chubba freestyled. Like he thought, I might just pull this and score. Sometimes you you make a decision. He hasn't been getting many reps, so sometimes it's easy to make a mistake if you haven't been getting your reps.
Mm-hmm.
But you also may just be like in the moment thinking, I'm just going to go for it. Maybe he just made a decision, but either way, like that was supposed to be a handoff, which I think maybe would change things a little bit. I don't know, but it's never.
But either way, that's my guess was like it was a product of him not getting as many reps or something, and he just he didn't know. But whatever. Either way, it was supposed to be a run. He pulls it. He makes a hell of a play to not. It was either going to be like a 15-yard lost sack or it was going to be intentional groundings. Like either way, it was going to be like
he got that ball across the line.
Yes, he sprinted away to get out of the tackle box and get it across the goal. Like so, crisis averted.
Yep.
Here comes 2nd and goal at the 5. Emmett Johnson. They try to run it up the middle. It's a 2-yard loss. Here comes 3rd and goal at the 7. Now, here's what I hate. So for my day yesterday, I had Creighton, North Dakota State on TV during the game. It was impossible to avoid spoilers. So I knew the outcome of the game.
Oh, okay.
So it drives me crazy because I wish I would. Now I know what I was thinking as I was watching it, even without knowing exactly how everything played out. I want to freeze this moment. What were you thinking? Run it and get 3 points. What were you thinking in that spot?
So from the get-go, like you say, Chubba takes us 92 yards.
92 yards, yeah.
Right?
My math is correct. 3-yard line all the way to
until that 3rd down play. This to me was the drive of the year for Nebraska. It was by far to me the most excited. It was the best offensive performance from so many people. I mean, especially like under the circumstances, this was the drive of the year. And I felt it in the moment. I was saying to myself, this is the drive of the year. I was saying, we're going to do this, right? So I was under the mindset, we probably want to run, but if you're going to throw it, if you're going to let this guy throw it, you can't let him take it. I literally thought that to myself. It's got to be a pass that can't be picked off.
Right.
I thought that thought in my head.
Right.
So I'm not the type of guy that's going to, after the fact, like, I knew you should run. I thought you could take a chance that is a chance that's a quote unquote safe chance.
Yeah, because not all throws are created equal in terms of its danger.
Yes.
And so could I wrap my head around maybe you do a sprint out thing, whatever, something like that? Maybe. But man, I don't know. At the same time, you got a 3rd string quarterback in there that has thrown 2 passes all season. You have just ran the ball really well down the field.
Yeah. You
have a field goal in the bag.
That's the part that's hard. It's not, we're not down. We're tied.
It's tied. And you have, for all intents and purposes, now things can always go crazy. Like you have the lead.
Yes.
You have it. To me, in that moment, I was just going, man, be careful. Assure yourself a field goal and then let your defense go win the game for you.
Yeah, I think my first thought was be careful. Like we had just seen 4 ugly turnovers.
Yeah.
My trust in quarterbacks was gone. Chubba was having his moment, but I wasn't like, give him the ball, let him rip. It had to be, hand it off or the safest, best passing play you got.
Right.
And I understand, they were supposed to run it was supposed to be a corner route.
Mm-hmm.
And I get how that's a safe pass in their mind, except for the fact that like the other team is good and they have coverages and, that's not a secure, that actually wasn't a secure enough play.
Right.
It wasn't, as much as it's a fairly safe play.
It was very similar to the Minnesota interception
Yeah.
From Sims. They get down to the goal line and it was a very similar route concept and call, but I just,
it's forcing him to make a read.
And again, he's thrown 2 passes all season.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he just they went 90 yards all through the air. It was all on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that was a pretty poorly managed situation from the coaches there.
I think it's coming down to this trust thing of like they want to give trust, they want to be aggressive and win. And it's like, these guys are proving that you can't trust them. And you almost have to manufacture a game with quarterbacks you can't trust.
Well, I know.
Which sucks. It sucks to say that.
Right.
But somewhere along the lines, it becomes like we have to be mind-numbingly like simplistic and conservative. We have to be mind-numbing. Like if we have points, we can't take chances. We have to just take our points.
Well, here
it sucks to say that.
This is what you're, because I'm gonna jump to this and then we're gonna go back to this sequence here. But what you're saying was something that it was a Dirk Chatelain tweet after the game that I thought is kind of hitting the nose on the head with what you're saying. He said the biggest difference between 8-2 Iowa and 5-5 Nebraska is that Iowa accepts that its offense stinks and manages the game accordingly.
That's pretty darn good. That's well said.
I mean, I think that's kind of what you're saying. Like, I get it. Like Satterfield rule, I get it. Like I get, corner, like I get it. On paper, I get it.
On paper,
I get it. I get it, dude. I get it.
Yeah.
But you have Heinrich Harburg. You have Jeff Sims. You have Chuba, who has, again, thrown 2 passes all year.
How many reps is he getting?
How many reps is he getting in practice? He has a bad groin, too, apparently. You also have 4'8" Billy Kemp. You have a bunch of freshmen and former walk-on wide receivers. I get it. Again, Sat and Rule, I get it, dog. I get it. I get on the dry erase board how it all works. But you don't have the players to do that.
Yeah.
And you had 3 points in the bag and you decide to throw the ball. Better chance Chuba throws a touchdown or the defense holds Maryland with 3.5 minutes left. I'm going to ride with the D.
Yeah. I mean, especially after their performance. I mean, so, I'm trying to think like, what's a safe pass? Like, I think it's, like you mentioned, like one of those sprint outs where it's almost like a pick where it's like, it's either open on the out or you're running it or throwing it away.
Yes.
Right. Or it's like, put your boy Fedoni out there, like fade to the corner where it's out of bounds or he catches it.
Yes.
Like something like that, where there is no margin for an interception, but maybe we got like a 50-50 touchdown. Right. That's what I think that's the only routes you can run with our team in this moment with these quarterbacks, with our 3rd string quarterback in there, especially.
Yes.
And so like, it's easy to say this after the fact, but I will say in the moment, I was like, you can't take a risk here.
No, you have, because I was sitting there watching, because again, I knew the outcome of the game, but I didn't know about the pick and all that stuff, but I knew with the time winding down, I was like, and I knew it didn't go to overtime. I'm like, because I knew they didn't end up with 13 points either. I'm like, what the hell happens here?
Well, I still think that this concept of shotgun when you're inside the 5-yard line, it just becomes like there's too many TFL opportunities when you do that.
Yeah.
Versus like, imagine if we were running like out of the I formation. Chuba's not pulling the ball then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
Like, so we're running it. We're not losing yards. We probably just run it 3 times. When we're out of the gun, like right by the goal line, I think it causes too many chances for errors.
Yes.
I don't know what it is about the gun, especially around the goal line. People are too close. There's too much attacking, and the time from the ball to get to the snap gives the defense a huge advantage, where in the rest of the field, they don't get that same advantage because they don't have to guard as much of the field.
Right.
So I just don't like that college football, they do this gun offense where you go to the pros, they just don't do it. They don't do that. They run the ball from under center, especially around the goal line.
Yes.
Because it is proven to be more effective.
The other thing is, with running it 3 times is you could have bled a ton of clock.
Because what was the time?
So that's why I'm looking at it. There was more time on the clock than I thought. Now they turned it over with 3:37.
3:37.
But
Chubba did throw it away.
But Chubba threw it away.
Yep.
So that stopped the clock.
Yes.
So to me, the other thing you could have thought about is
40 and 40 almost. Right?
Yes.
So it's a minute 20. It's a minute 20 more off of 3:30.
Yeah.
So down to 2:10.
So that's a difference too. You could have at that point you go, you got 3 points. We're going to assure that stays the same. And in the midst of that, we're going to bleed a whole bunch of clock here.
Yeah. So then it's 2 minutes to go, right? Let's say we kicked the field goal. We'd run the clock. We couldn't get in.
Yeah.
We're going to take the field goal.
We
kick off. They start in the 25, roughly, right? We're playing a little bit different defense than we would have been. We're going to make them earn it and use clock. Advantage us when it's 2 minutes to go.
You have the defense up until that point. I mean, they had held Maryland to 10 points the whole game. I just would rather take my chances with putting it on the defense
with a lead.
With a
lead, thinking differently than a defense that's a little like, oh man, we just turned it over for the 5th time. You know what I mean?
Right. Because the defense, thing. The defense probably over there. I mean, all of a sudden it's like boom, pick, sudden change, you're out there. And Maryland now has life.
Maryland is now feeling like, they have life. They have the green light to be like, we're playing with house money now. And you gave Talia. Is it Talia?
Talia Tagovailoa.
Talia. I always get his name wrong.
But after the game, I finally felt like I had it after hearing the announcer say it enough times. I had it. But boy, I tell you, wasn't it pretty amazing to watch like a real quarterback? You're like, whoa.
Well, it's basically with him and Sanders are the two where we've watched where we go, it's so starkly different. Watching a quarterback that is poised and knows where he's going with the ball, delivers the ball on time where it needs to be. It's just a different game. You're playing a different game.
Yeah, it truly looked like it truly looks like varsity versus JV. Like it looks like Talia and Shedeur are varsity, and all the other guys are junior varsity level quarterbacks. Yeah. But so that decision. I mean, if Nebraska ends up losing these last 2 games, there's going to be a couple of little tipping points where turning point moments that who knows where. I mean, we talked about like the goal line stand at Illinois on the first drive. Like it felt like that was the turning point that led to Nebraska putting themselves in position to.
It's a 3 in a row was from that moment.
From that moment on. You go back to the Minnesota game and the sequence oddly similar to the sequence at the end of the first half where they throw it and Sims throws a pick into the end zone. You certainly could go back to Anthony Grant's fumble in the Minnesota game. I mean, there's these little moments throughout the season, but man, this one, you are at home. You got Maryland. You're going to be up 13-10 with 2.5, 3 minutes left. You're in a pretty good spot. Instead, you take your 3rd string quarterback, you throw it, interception, and then here comes Maryland. And it was, the defense here, it was unfortunate because, man, they've just been awesome.
Yeah.
But Nebraska does get Maryland to a 3rd and 10. Our boy Tommy Hill gets a pass interference on a shot down the field. And then what happened on 2nd and 6? I think they checked into a 31-yard run.
We didn't have an edge.
What happened?
We didn't have an edge.
It was like, where was everybody?
They checked on us. They had a scheme. Like it was one of those, they got us in something. They checked to an outside zone and we didn't have an edge. So, I mean, it was like everybody washed us down. It just took a corner. I mean, it was just, we didn't have an edge. We had messed up our scheme.
I think it might have been the only, off the top of my head, I can't really think of, even against Michigan, there weren't a ton of like bust run chunk plays. Like I haven't seen a ton of those necessarily where that was just like, man, where
they got us. I mean, that's
it was
just
like,
where
wow,
our defense,
schemed.
it's either we made a mistake or we do something that they caught on to and they got us. I mean, they got us there in a big moment.
So that's a 31-yard play. And then there's the wide receiver little tunnel screen where, again, out of character, bad tackling. Hartzog missed. Somebody else came in and missed, and they gained over 10 yards, and now they're in field goal range, and they work the clock down to 3 seconds, field goal, ball game, 13-10.
Yeah, I'd argue we actually played a really good football game on defense, and we had 4 plays, 2 from Hartzog, 2 from Tommy, and that one edge,
and then the one edge,
lost. And yes, because it was Tommy's sack he missed. Tommy gave up the deep ball. Hartzog gave up a deep ball. Hartzog gave up that touchdown. And the run. I'd say it's 5 plays.
Right.
We played an unbelievably good game other than that.
And forced turnovers in the second half.
Clutch. It was a very clutch defensive performance.
Yes.
They turned it. They forced the ball out when we needed it. It's man, our offense there's just no favor. I mean, you can't ask the defense to do more than that.
No, I know. And that's why you want to be like, even Rule after the game was like, I still expect the defense to go out there and hold them. And it's like, yeah, I hear you. But it's also like, I mean,
the 5th bad
turnover. Come on, man. At some point, like how many messes can mom and dad clean up here before it's like, fuck. So, but Omar Brown forced the fumble. Javen Wright had the interception on the sideline. And then there was the other fumble inside the 5. I mean, these were, like you said, these were clutch plays, big plays against an explosive. You held an explosive offense with a very good quarterback to 13 points.
Yeah. I think they had 0 rushing yards in the first half.
0.
Really good.
Really, really good. Only thing that was maybe a little disappointing was they only had 1 sack. Had a hard time. And it was the Marquise Buford delayed safety or corner blitz late.
Yeah.
But they had a hard time getting home.
Yeah,
but Talia he's slippery.
Evasive, yeah. And I mean, like I said, Tommy's one that was no one. It's just you and him. Ty Robinson had a big miss. He had him.
Yep.
There's a few of those where it's like
you got to get him. You got to get him down. So let's go back. I mean, for the offense, like. Again, I wanted to start the offensive conversation with that Dirk tweet because I do tend to agree. Again, to read the biggest difference between 8-2 Iowa and 5-5 Nebraska is that Iowa accepts that its offense stinks and manages the game accordingly. And I hate to say that, but I tend to agree with him. I tend to agree with him.
They win those. They win close games with a bad offense because they play this, field goals and special teams, like
right. We're not going to manage risks. We're not going to take them.
They play so conservative that these teams just implode on themselves almost.
Right.
Like, that's if you don't got the guns on offense, you got to take that mentality. If you don't got the horses to that you can trust. If you can't trust, which to me that's what it's about. And I just know Matt Rule and Satterfield, they want to trust their guys. That's part of who they are. They just want to give that trust, and I respect it. But you got to know right now they haven't earned that yet. They haven't earned that. Just let it rip, man. They haven't. You can't do that to your defense.
To me, my thing is like, yes, because it's funny you said because there almost is this sense whether it's what Rule talks about in post-game press conferences and press conferences in general. And how Rule and Satterfield approach the game. It's almost as if Rule and Satterfield would rather establish we are aggressive, we are confident, we trust the players. They would rather establish that and lose games than play super safe, super vanilla, super conservative and win games.
It's hard. I don't know.
I know I say that pseudo tongue in cheek, but I think the spirit of what I'm saying is like, I think where it's like it's almost like they're trying to speak and act this confident, we play to win, we let it rip, we're always swinging attitude. And there's a fine line between that and when you're just not playing smart.
See, I don't know. I have no idea if they've ever had a team like this that's been this bad on offense and pretty darn good on defense.
Yeah.
And it's a different, like, it's sort of like these are the cards you've been dealt, and you got to play these cards.
Yes.
And I don't know that they've ever been dealt these cards.
Because I wonder if it's interesting because I wonder if they said like this year we have to, above all, because when people like things that aren't necessarily tied to wins and losses, what are some things you want to establish this year? I wonder if behind closed doors, like we got to get these guys confident. We got to let them know that we believe in them. We got to get them aggressive. We got to get them feeling good. And it's one thing to have those schools of thoughts, but then like you said, then you're dealt a hand and you may be sitting there at the poker table. Like I'm going to get aggressive on this hand, but then you get dealt 7-2 offsuit and you're like, well, fuck, I better not here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just think that there's that fine line. There's that fine line where it's like being too like scared is detrimental to your team, right? But then there's that the other part of the line where it's like we're not good enough to take this many, like to put this much risk on some of these guys,
right?
And I don't know, like. I think it's tough to navigate because otherwise it's like, you got to be in the game. You got to go for it somewhat, but you have to know what your level is. And I don't think we've found that. I think it's a little uncomfortable to be as conservative as what I think we've had to be.
Yeah. And again, I'm not
a couple of these games.
Right. And I'm not saying never throw it. And I'm not saying never take a shot. I'm not saying but there's a threshold to everything. And there's a time and place to, let's play action and take a shot. Or and then there are times where you go,
we're down 7, play action, take a shot.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of the game. It's tied up, play action, take a shot. We're tied with 3 minutes to go. We're on our 3rd string quarterback. We've had 4 or 5 interceptions already today. Let's not take a chance. And that's where the circumstances change throughout the game. You just got to know who your team is right now and what that moment is. And you can dial up the risk a little bit based on that. And that was a moment where the risk, we need to dial that. We had the points. The points were in our pocket.
Yes.
Put the risk down to 0 and just hand it off. Yes. And you're okay. And you get your points and you make them beat you. Because
I just don't like this old saloon walk in and I'm a gunslinger and like we play, we're out there. We're not going to play scared. We play to win. It's like, that's cool, dude. But like I get that school of thought, but you can be that if you are the gunslinger. If you walk in and you're like, that's my Brett Favre arm. It's like, go gunsling. Yes, but you don't have that. You have Chubba Purdy in there.
You got Chubba out there. And I know there's chatter.
There's Chubba chatter, but there's not necessarily chatter about getting really aggressive with his gunslinger.
I would say we need a little bit of run the ball chatter.
Yes. And so I just get like, man, we're going to play to win the game. It's like, yeah, well, I mean, there's playing a part of, so here's what I don't like is like I don't like hiding behind that thought all the time. Like, man, we're going to go out in the football. We're going to play aggressive and play to win the game. Well, like playing to win the game. Sometimes if the goal is to play to win the game, sometimes the game calls for you to play smart and take the points. So I just don't like this. Like, Rule does that on the press room. Like we're going to be aggressive. We're going to play to win the game, and it's like, well, I mean, what does that mean? Like a part of playing to win the game is
sometimes kicking the field goal.
Yes.
Like we gave up another time we went for it from that 4th and 2.
Yes, and Sims got And they get like, man, we're going to be aggressive. It's like, well, cool. Okay.
4th and an inch is 4th and
I'd rather be an unaggressive winner than an aggressive loser.
That's what I think.
And
we've borderline.
I just get
borderline giving up 2 games doing that now. And it's like, and that's the bowl eligibility. Minnesota and this one have both been like, we get around the goal line and they want more.
Get greedy.
They get a little greedy. Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, coaches get greedy. That's okay. Like, I get it. But let's just acknowledge that's what it is. And let's acknowledge it. And they need to take a hard look at this is the cards we got. This isn't Ohio State's talent, which is like, I would be really aggressive if I was Ohio State.
Yes.
If I got Marvin Harrison, I'm probably always going to be like, well, I can always throw a little fade or I can always do a.
Yes.
Can they guard him one-on-one? They can't. My quarterback.
If I got Caleb Williams down by the goal, guess what? let it rip. Walk in the saloon, get a shot of whiskey, and challenge the baddest dude to a duel.
Because you know what? You got the upper hand, and I feel like that's the part that's hard is we just don't have any upper hand on offense anywhere. Really.
Well, and that's the thing. Sometimes I think it's almost like they're in denial about their quarterback's abilities to throw the ball and their wide receivers' abilities to get separation and catch the ball.
Yeah. I mean, nobody can. I mean, like I said, Fedoni, we love Fedoni, but like, I don't think Fedoni can get open on his own. Like,
well, even it was the right read and look, but like I think they caught Maryland in a blitz and Bullock ran a little fade in the seam, and it really wasn't a bad throw, but Bullock's not going to catch that.
He's not Marvin Harrison Jr.
He's 6 foot and not super athletic.
Yeah.
He's not going to win a jump ball.
Yeah. The cornerback looked bigger and jumped higher than he did. So
yes.
It's like, that's what it is. That's where like having Billy Kemp on the corner route. It's like, it's a personnel thing. That makes that less safe. Now that's a big, tall.
If that's Quincy and Nunwa, if that's I mean,
you know where you can throw it. You can throw it into a different place that only he can get it, or like it becomes like when Billy Sims is that short, the angles of the ball change, and the defenders can get to it from a different end. Like that's the whole thing with like why size matters is because then you can just sort of like it's basketball. It is like if you're playing with a good center, you don't have to be a great passer.
Throw that bitch up
near the rim,
right?
It doesn't have to be like if it's a really short guy, your lob has to be perfect.
Oh man,
because he can dunk it if it hits right there, 12 inches to the left of the hoop, like 6 inches above. That's as high as he can go, and
it has to be perfect.
Guy, you can miss by 3 feet.
You ever watch people throw brawn lobs? They're like
miss.
people don't even look. People don't even like. It's like you can put it anywhere.
You can't miss.
You literally cannot throw it too high, too wide. Braun is going to swoop pterodactyl on in there and hammer that thing.
If you got Wimby, throw it anywhere.
He's going to go get
to it.
And it's. I mean, I saw it yesterday with Kalkbrenner and Creighton. Like, I mean, got to where they could just throw it anywhere. He was going to go high point it, win it, and go lay it in. But they don't have that. And it's like I don't.
So you can't do
call plays
things.
Those accordingly. And so there also is this reluctance at times to just hand the ball to their running backs. I mean, honestly,
Grant 3 carries. I still don't know.
I don't understand
what's going on there.
I don't either. And so I wrote that down. I don't understand why he only got 3 carries. And then I actually thought Emmett Johnson had like a good day, 17 carries, 84 yards, 4.9 a carry.
It was his best day as a Husker. He looked the best he's looked. Like he ran the best, but I still think Anthony Grant's more talented. I think Fleek's actually moves pretty nice.
Yeah, like I'm like, to me, you have like, I agree. Fleek's has some natural wiggle to him. I'm like, I know Grant does. And then Emmett Johnson is coming along. I'm like, why? Like, hand the ball off to those guys.
Hand it and throw it to those guys. Like Fleek's involved in the passing game. I think we're still trying to force the ball to Billy Kemp. I just don't know. I mean, it's like I struggle still with understand what's going on with Anthony Grant. Like, is it just all in his head? Is he in the doghouse with the coaches? But like, I know he's fumbled, but
give me a break.
But so has every quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you've lost all. Like, I didn't want to play. I mean, we had this conversation about Grant of like, why does Grant get pulled for fumbling, but the quarterback doesn't? Well, quarterback versus running back, it's a different deal. But now that we're 10 games into this thing and we've seen how it played out, give me a break, okay? These quarterbacks are. I mean, I saw a stat today because we'll get into stuff with the quarterbacks. This was Connor Happer, 1620, tweeted out some drive chart stuff that Jeff Sims on the season has 26 drives and 12 turnovers. So you mean
almost half the time
46% of his drives result in a turnover. That is jarring.
Well, I don't know if you saw because Peacock, I was hard to watch on that Peacock app because they didn't have the like.
You couldn't forward,
figure out the fast forward.
Oh, I had a rough time last night.
Didn't turn on. And then I mean, it was a rough deal.
Yes.
But there was a moment there, where they were showing the sideline after Jeff Sims had his last turnover. He went off to the side and was squatting down, and you could see in his eyes, he wasn't angry.
No, he was
just like, what in the world? You could tell it was this was the moment where
he was shell shocked.
He was shell shocked. The 12 and 26,
12 and 26.
That hit him all in the face in that moment. I was watching him. I felt so bad for him because I'm like, this poor guy, like he seems like a nice kid.
Yes.
And it's just like, this has been the worst. I think that's the worst. That's
as bad of a quarterback. Yeah.
Turnover ratio as I've ever seen.
Because it's really, I mean, so this is Connor Happer again. He ran these numbers and looked at it. He goes, the Nebraska's turned the ball over on 23% of their drives this year. 2.6 turnovers per game. It's one turnover every 4.35 drives. Harburg has 84 drives and 13 turnovers, 15.4%. Yeah. Sims, 26 drives, 12 turnovers. That's 46%. And Chubba Purdy has 2 drives, 1 turnover, 50%.
It's like unbelievably
bad. Unreal what those quarterbacks have, how they performed.
I shouldn't even say this. I shouldn't even talk
about
I
wrote it down.
I shouldn't even say it.
You want to talk about it?
I can't believe my brain went there. I can't believe I
you want to talk about Casey Thompson?
I don't want to. No, we shouldn't.
It's still no. It needs to be stated again. The biggest mistake of the season started before the season.
Yeah.
In pushing Casey Thompson out the door. Because as Sip has put it, it's a red flag in this staff's evaluating that they chose Jeff Sims and pushed Casey Thompson out the door.
Yep.
And I mean, this is the stuff too. Like I looked this up. Here is a quote from Matt Rule about Jeff Sims in August. This is before the season. Here's Matt Rule talking about Jeff Sims. He said, quote, "He's a triple threat. He can throw it. He can run it. He can beat you with his mind as well. He can get you to the right play. He's an NFL player." You go like, how are you as a guy that was a head coach in the NFL that has been wildly successful? How could you be so wrong about a quarterback?
You know, I think Jeff Sims had some games at Georgia Tech that were impressive. And for whatever reason, this is what you can't know about a person. Something about him now at Nebraska, he regressed to the worst version of himself, I'm guessing, that he's ever. He's never been this.
No, this has to be the worst football he's ever played as a player has happened this year.
Yeah, it's almost like a psychological thing. Like, I don't know if it was because that first game went so wrong, he wasn't able to recover from it, but he is turning the ball over at a clip that no quarterback could be. I mean, high school quarterbacks don't even do this. I don't think. Like, it is unbelievable. He fumbles like every other.
He turns like we joked it. Like he turns the wrong way. Once every 2 drives, he has a play that's just dead because he turns the wrong way.
Yeah,
and then as 12 turnovers and 26 drives. I don't know. Well, I mean, seriously though, let's let ourselves. You were saying you don't want to talk about it, but Casey Thompson, let your mind. A healthy Casey Thompson. What's Nebraska's record?
I mean, this is hard. You don't know. You don't know what's going to be. You don't know what else could happen. I mean, we're not going to run him as much, but I know Casey Thompson is very competent, throws a good ball. He proved that he can make all the throws, and he was pretty clutch, I felt like. So, I mean, there's no way. I don't know that we will win 8 or 9 games with Casey Thompson, but I know we have won 6 or 7 by now.
Yeah. I mean, I
would say 6 or 7 by now would be in the bag.
Yes, I know they would. I mean, it's not crazy to say that they would be 7-3 or 8-2.
No,
I mean, it's not. I know that's. I mean, and I get we're entering into ifs and buts and hypothetical world, which gets you. But
you just don't know.
You just don't know. But if other than the Michigan game, does it not kind of feel like every other loss they are competent, average quarterback play away from winning all those games?
I think the only part that's tricky is that we had success in certain games running Harburg.
Agree.
And we, in the Minnesota game, our success came from running Sims.
Mm-hmm.
So could we manufacture some points with Casey Thompson, these receivers, these running backs? I think Casey Thompson's capable of getting us. Because I think he just delivers the ball where it needs to be. He can if you put all these quarterbacks in a room and said, Harburg, Sims, Chuba, show me your mental makeup of football and how you process, and then you bring in Casey. I think he processes the game so much faster and at such a different level than those guys. That to me would be the biggest difference. Like, I just saw Casey knowing where to put the ball and where it needed to be faster. He just had that like veteran thing.
I want to talk more about the quarterbacks, but first I got to talk about Onyx Automotive. They're the best of Omaha, #1 luxury car dealer. Support those that support us. Onyx Automotive is a proud sponsor, and we're proud that they are on board with us of these game recap pods. They offer industry-leading brands, Land Rover, Jaguar, BMW. Again, the white Range Rover is your boys. It's my dream car. I mean, that thing is so smooth. They got a great location, 150th and Dodge. You go online, onyxautomotive.com. They have tons of great information there. New pre-owned vehicles, all the different makes and models. You can get a sense of what things look like before you even step on the lot, and you are going to be treated like a king luxuriously, because that's what Onyx Automotive is all about. In fact, every purchase of a vehicle comes with a nice bottle of wine. Check them out online, onyxautomotive.com, onyxautomotive.com. Drive Onyx, the new standard. And we're brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. Again, I had some work done on my house. I was able to go through the entire process with Pella, from the showroom in Omaha to the in-home consultation with Debbie to the Pella expert installers, for them to come out and measure twice and all this stuff, and then see the Pella experts come in and install. It was really a unbelievable experience from start to finish, and I love everything that they have done with my house. The bay window is fantastic. The new front door is fantastic. Really, my whole front of my house is completely transformed because of Pella. You need some new windows or doors, you need to holler at my people at Pella. They got these cool koozies here, these Yetis here. They're fantastic. So check them out online, PellaOmaha.com. That's PellaOmaha.com. Okay, Bo Robert Ruud. Let's back to the quarterbacks. Well, real quick with the offense, what has happened with the option? The option has pretty much gone away, and they were never great at it.
It's the quarterbacks. You got to have the quarterbacks.
Okay, because it's
to
just
run
like
the real option. I mean, you got to be good at it.
Yeah. Is it as simple as that? Is it as simple as there was the element of surprise initially, and you were able to not be great at it and have success with it, and now that element of surprise is not there, and so you have to be good at it? Or they basically kind of just gone away from it.
Yeah, because Harburg was starting to take a lot of hits on it, and I think you could tell like it was getting clunky. It just wasn't looking
right.
It wasn't looking great. We liked it because it helped us, and it helped manufacture a passing game. So we could use the option pass more than anything. I think that's why they liked it.
Yes, it manufactures a shot down the field, and I mean, I think it's another way to get the quarterback run game going. I mean, I think they're just having a hard time getting the quarterback run game has really eroded the last handful of games. But when you look at the quarterback situation right now, I mean, so Heinrich Harburg, man, if you think he was on he's now had 3 or 4 straight games where he is going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So he was 1 for 5 yesterday passing, 0 yards and 1 interception. He should have had 2 interceptions, but 1 was called back. What's interesting is he was cleared to go back in the game, but they didn't bring him back in the game, which basically is like he got pulled yesterday.
Yeah. I would say that's the equivalent of, we want to try somebody else.
Yes. And this was from Mitch Sherman's story in The Athletic. His interception in the first half was the 8th turnover in the past 4 games. And keep in mind, he's had 2 interceptions in the last 2 games get called back because of penalties. So there was a world where a dude had 10 turnovers in 4 games here. So what's amazing is like, man, Sims is the turnover machine, and he is, but like Harburg is starting to like trend in that direction.
Because he was doing that and fumbling.
Fumbling.
That's what Sims and him have done, especially this year. Is like they've been hitting the double. Like they've been doing the interceptions and the fumbles. They've been losing both. It's like, and what's funny is Harburg always misses long.
Overthrows people every time.
Yeah.
What is that? I mean,
does.
he's his interceptions, it's not like it's, he threw it and someone jumped it or whatever. It's always sails.
He throws it down the field and the free safeties
just
steal the
sitting
ball.
there.
The deep guy reads him and he overthrows it
right
to the deep. Yeah. So they're having trouble reading coverages, and they're having trouble like with touch where the ball needs to be. Like they throw it. Sims did the same thing. Like they throw it long.
There is a little bit, and I thought this was pretty insightful from Rule a couple of games ago. I can't remember what game it would have been, where they were talking about Harburg, and he talked about how sometimes quarterbacks, there's the whole idea of kind of the curse of knowledge. Sometimes when you don't know, you just go out there and you just play on instinct and let it rip.
Yeah.
And so like in the first couple of games from Harburg, he was out there just like attacking.
He was just running.
He was just running and trying to run people over and all of a sudden he was like, the more you know, it's good, but sometimes you get bogged down by it.
The more you know is good when you've gone through it before, time and time again. And then you're in your 7th year and you're like, oh yeah, all that knowledge I built up, now I can actually use it. He's in the learning the knowledge and how to apply it, and he doesn't have it figured out yet. So it didn't just becomes like a jumble in his head. I
don't know if you ever had a moment like that. I remember my freshman year at Kansas, after like you think you're playing defense, and then all of a sudden you like go play for Bill Self, and your eyes are opened up to like a whole nother level of defense. And I vividly remember we were playing at Nevada, and I was like in the corner, and I was like, okay, all right, bump the cutter back, get ready to get under, show, recover. Like I had all these things going in my head, and defensively you got to be like, calm, see man and ball, anticipate, but it was because like all of a sudden I had been like flooded with stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like thinking way too much, and I feel like Harburg slowly got into that world. But he's gone in the wrong direction here. Sims yesterday was 8 of 13, 2 interceptions. He also had the 1 fumble, which was just so weak. I mean, he's a big, strong guy.
He was flagging it.
Yeah.
He had it loose. But what's funny about Sims, I don't know if you felt this. Like I felt like he was there was like that he had his first drive, and I felt like this might be Jeff Sims' moment to
recapture
get back some confidence. And the opposite happened. I think it ended his football career.
I hate to say it, but I think it probably did too.
I mean,
I think that's probably it for him.
I think it's probably it for him at Nebraska.
Yeah,
for sure. I think he's such a specimen that like he'll go somewhere and play football, but like he's not going anywhere major.
No,
because I mean, Nick, it's been so bad. I mean, how can a major program be like, we need to bring this guy in?
The guy that turned it over on 46% of the drives ended in turnovers. Let's bring that guy in. I mean, so he gets pulled.
Yeah.
And then here comes Chubba, who, I mean, by the way, talk about a terrible situation. I mean, it was a sudden change turnover. Like he come in, taken over at the 3-yard line. And then we talked about how he led the team down the field, but he was 1 for 3 throwing with 24 yards to Billy Kemp and then the 1 interception. He had a couple of good runs, 3 rushes for 33 yards, but then he throws the big interception late. So the question is, what do you do at the quarterback spot this week? Because Heinrich Harburg, they say, is a little banged up with an ankle. Jeff Sims, we just talked about him. I don't know how you trot him out there at this point.
I just, even for his sake, I just feel like he's not ready to play. Like mentally, he has shown me no ability like to be like, I am ready to take on this challenge. I feel like he's in a weird place mentally.
And I think there also is an element of like, I know teammates would never say this, but I mean, I can't imagine there's a whole lot of confidence in him out there from the other 10 guys on the offense and then everybody else on the defense right now. But then there's apparently Chubba has such a bad groin issue that he's like needs surgery like ASAP. So, you got a banged up Chubba, banged up Harburg. Sims is banged up mentally. And Rule after the game said, quote, we want to have somebody get the main reps and somebody else get the second best reps and go from there. But I would be lying to you if I told you I knew who that was going to be right now. So I don't.
Well, how about we do this just for the sake of this conversation? They're all 3 healthy.
Who you starting? I think I'm starting Chuba.
I think Chuba would be my hunch, just because I'm like, I don't know what a good Chuba day would look like. I think I've seen a not good Chuba day.
Oh, there's not good. Of those. Yeah.
But like, I think we know what a Sims days looked like. I think he's just not there mentally. He's not ready for it.
And
Harburg is, I think you go Harburg over Sims.
I agree.
And then right now, if Chuba's hurt, then maybe it's Harburg. But like, God, I don't know if they're both healthy, Harburg and Chuba are healthy. I just feel like we haven't seen Chuba, so it's like it's the
seduction of the unknown. And for me, I'm like, I know how Harburg's been playing. I know how Sims has been playing. Those guys, I think it's pretty naive to think, well, maybe they got a 0 turnover game in them. They don't. And maybe Chuba, maybe you got to see what he can do out there. But again, I don't know how hurt he is.
What's hard though is he just, like Harburg has gotten way more reps than him this year.
Right.
That's the reps help. And that's where I don't know. Like, there's the other part of me that goes, man, like Harburg's played the most football. He's the most in sync with what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's I lean Chuba, but I think if I had to guess, my guess is Harburg is your starter on Saturday.
Yeah, if I would have bet on it, I'd bet Harburg. I think you might be like me in the sense I say Chuba just because I'm curious almost.
Yeah, it's more of that. Like, I just want to see someone else try it.
Yeah, because I mean, we got to play Wisconsin at Wisconsin. It's going to be a tough place to play, but I mean, who gives us the best chance to win? I still don't know if that's clear to me between Chuba and Harburg.
Well, it's just amazing that they're staring down the barrel of like Sims might be the most healthy physically, but the most unhealthy mentally.
Yes.
And then you're dealing with your other two options. Neither of them are great, but they're both physically a little banged up. So I don't know. It's somehow, just when you thought this offense couldn't get any more like dire, like it somehow has gotten more like, whoa. I don't know what they're going to do.
I don't know what they're going to do, but they got 2 tough games. Wisconsin though,
they're falling apart. They've lost they got beat bad by Northwestern, and they lost to Indiana. And I was reading some stuff on that. They're a little bit of a mess right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's I mean, I think we like in my mind, when it's like going to play Wisconsin, you're like Russell Wilson, Melvin Gordon, TJ Watt's going to be up there. It's like, it's not that. But at the same time, I mean, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
But so I'm with you. I think it'll be Harburg, and I can understand it being Harburg because everything you laid out, he's gotten the most reps, he's got the most experience and all those sorts of things. If I had my choice, I think I'd go with Chuba. Let's see if someone else can do it.
Chuba provided a little spark. There was a spark out of him. I liked he was competitive out there. I liked how competitive he was. He did throw that pick though, which I think he threw that pick and he pulled that ball on a run, which doesn't make me feel great about like where he is at with like command of the offense. And
right.
Like, so that's maybe wishful thinking that Chuba's the answer. Like I say, I'm saying it almost out of curiosity, but it's probably going to be Harburg and that's probably the right thing. But like I say, I'm at this point, what do we have? I mean, we have the bowl game to lose, but we still can get to that bowl game, which is a good goal. But man, we've blown 2 weeks in a row that were much, much easier.
Yeah. These games, these next 2 games are going to be harder than the last 2 games you just played.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's amazing is that they were sitting there with 5 wins with 4 games left. And I was surprised at some of the people acting like it was just a for sure thing they're going to get 6 at that point. I never felt like that.
It's because we had a couple negative pods after some wins because we're like,
I know that's right. I just like I am again not to be I told you so. I'm just like I am so not. My level of surprise that they have lost these last 2 games is 0. I am not surprised at all.
I mean, I think it's because you can feel it when this offense takes the field. It is a coin flip, whether it's a turnover drive or not. And that's what we've been living with is these, like Sims is about a 50%er. Harburg's been about, he's about 1 in every 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
And, and now we're down to Chuba, which means we're down to our third string quarterback. Down to our third, we're in our third string running. I guess that's probably our fourth string running back.
Did you feel like, not to be totally, go down the path of like way over analyzing, like I thought that was the most stressed and frantic Rule seemed all year on the sidelines.
He was working those refs.
He was really, and I was just going to say, he almost seems like he's gotten to that point that certain coaches get to where, like, I think all of his frustration with what's happening on the field gets channeled to the officials.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Like where instead, like, I think in his heart of hearts, he wants to grab Harburg and Sims and these guys and basically be like, what the are you guys doing? Yeah. And instead, he just gets the side judge and undresses him with F-bombs.
I think Rule, there's no doubt, as a guy that is so well-spoken and so polished, he's got to be frustrated with how this is. I mean, some things have gone right for him.
Yes.
And some other things have gone terribly wrong. I think the wrongs are starting to add up. Like, the injury stuff has been
the injury stuff. They have gotten. I mean, if you really think about it, and he brought this up, and it's true. I still think that Gabe Ervin maybe scored at Minnesota.
Yeah.
You could argue the Michigan State guy, the touchdown should have been overturned and been not a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I think he feels like, okay, those two plays arguably cost the team 2 wins, and then it's been laughable, all the injuries, and it's been laughable, the level of quarterbacking.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, the quarterbacking in those first 2 games, it was unbelievable. Like, it was almost shocking to the system how terrible some of those were. And then it became normal by about this time of year. We're like, wow, this is 4 turnovers, but we've kind of gotten used to how bad it's been. But like, to see those happen in those first 2 games that were winnable games, like the Minnesota one, you're just like, you can't believe it.
No.
Right? So I think that's the stuff that is Matt Rule it's starting to catch up.
I bet the weight of, again, I think you and I had the analogy. It's like a 7-game series in the NBA playoffs, and you're up 3-1, and you lose game 5. You go, okay, well, we'll just go win game 6. And if you lose, you lose game 6, you're like, holy shit!
All that advantage that you had, that like we're up, you've lost it all. Now
they had time to get to that 6th win, and they're running out of time, and things, and the road is getting tougher.
Yeah. And
so I think that he just struck me yesterday as, like, for the first time, like, he really looked like we've seen a lot of, whether it's Bo Pelini or Scott Frost, like, where the weight of the Husker football world was like weighing on them.
Yeah.
And it's just funny to me how, like, it seems like it's just all gotten channeled to the officials, but it's interesting. But I mean, I think it's a couple of things before we go. Because maybe for the midweek pod here, I want to talk about like what you do at the quarterback spot, like moving on to next year, but like we'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
I mean, it bears saying out loud 2 things. I mean, Nebraska leads the nation in turnovers. I mean, you really got to say that out loud and let it sink in. They lead the nation in turnovers by a wide margin. And it's not just one guy, it's all of them. And it is remarkable, Bo, how the names and faces can change, yet the turnover issues remain the same. Like, Bo Pelini can be there, and it's Taylor Martinez, and they're running the spread turnovers. Mike Riley and Tanner Lee can be there, and they're running pro style turnovers. Scott Frost and Adrian Martinez, and they're turnovers. Now, Matt Rule and Jeff Sims, turnovers. Like, it's wild to me how you can change head coaches, change players, change systems, change conferences, and it still has remained the same. And to build off of it is Stu Manji on Twitter built off that one Dirk Chatelain story that you always bring up.
Yeah.
And updating those numbers now. Since 2004.
Yes.
Since 2004, Nebraska's turnover margin is minus 113. The next closest Power 5 team is like minus 61. Minus 113 since 2004. The next closest, it's like 50 turnovers.
Will you please send me that? Do you have that?
Yeah, I'll say.
I want to look at it again because I remember when that came out, when Dirk put that out. Maybe it was in 2019. That
was 2019. And so Stu Manji, who's just a good, he covers Nebraska and just tweets out numbers with Nebraska. He's kept the running total since that point. And
that number will tell you more about the plight of a Nebraska football fan than probably anything, because what's weird is I think it's finally caught up to us the last 2 or 3 years where we're not winning many games now at all. But for a while there, we were winning more than we should have.
Yeah.
But we had this so we were like, I think that's our talent was above average for so many years. And we had the Nebraska thing. So we'd win games playing this like very bad turnover margin football. And it's starting to just like catch up to us now where it's like,
it's weird.
You're not going to win anymore.
I wonder why it has, because you're right. Because you think so it starts in 04 is where they start. I mean, 06, you guys play for a conference title. 09 play for a conference title. 2010 play for a conference title. 2012 played for a conference title. Yeah. There's obviously the story of Bo Pelini won 9 games or more from 08 all the way to 2014. Like they were winning games, but then it's like all of a sudden all this stuff caught up to them.
Yeah, and it's it's that I want to look into those numbers more. It's
crazy, right?
Like it's so mind-boggling to hear it. It's just like you almost can't understand it. You're like, no, that can't be. We can't be that much worse than the rest of college football, but we are.
Yeah.
And like, what does that mean about us? What does that mean about our
because you used to be able to go like, oh, it's just it was just because of
this guy or this system.
It was just Taylor Martinez. It was just it was Bo. Bo was too focused on the defense, and they need someone that
It's going to be 20 years now. It's going to be 20 years next year.
So that's what I'm saying. Like it's like different quarterbacks, different coaches, different coordinators, different offenses, and it's still a turnover fest. And so, and the other thing that's amazing to think is that Nebraska, the last 2 games, they have 1 total penalty. They had 0 penalties against Michigan State and 1 penalty against Maryland, and they lost both games.
And Maryland and Michigan State both did a really bad job.
Well,
they had penalties all over the place. I think that's what really kept us in those games with all the turnovers. They were negating a lot of their success. The other team did just with penalties, and we were actually playing pretty clean.
Some of Maryland's penalty. You ever seen when Kevin brought his chili into the office from?
Maryland was just like
you guys are
interception. Oh, some guy on the other side of the field was holding. Like they had some bad
calls. Yeah. The other thing that's weird to me, and it seems like it only happens when Sims is the quarterback. Why do the plays come in so slow with Sims? They had to call 2 timeouts yesterday to avoid delay of games. And it's like it only happens there to sneeze. One more sneeze. We got one more. If you're going to do it, let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we repeat the shoulder.
I won't do it. My shoulder. I don't want to blow out my shoulder.
Right, dang it.
I won't do it.
No, your shoulder. How about your labrum still torn? Yep. So you're just like this is my life now. I have a torn labrum, and for the rest of my life, I will have a torn.
If I throw a baseball, like I'm on the shelf for 2 weeks. I just don't get to throw. I don't get to throw anymore.
Like getting hurt and getting surgery is like, no. I mean, I did that hernia surgery, and it was like, this sucks.
I'm not going to spend like 8 weeks in a sling. I won't do it.
An adult, an adult in a sling is always like,
I'm just going to live with it. I'm just going to live with
I like
pain,
that you're living with it.
And so
I'm not going to live with Sims being like, get the damn play in and don't have to call. mean, there was a world where that was going to bite them in the ass, where they had to call a bunch of timeouts, and because they're not. I mean, how hard? It's like this is Division I football. This is Big Ten. Like, get the play in, get set, and run a play before the play clock expires. Good God! By the way, I wanted to wrap it up with this. I mean, the Peacock experience,
rough.
I mean, it was rough.
I
didn't. So, were you watching it live, or did you watch the replay of it?
So I had it.
I'm all tangled here. But
So I had it on the app downloaded. I mean, it was on my smart TV, and I had the login from my brother-in-law who had used it for the week before for the Rugby World Cup. So I had it ready to go. I was like, great, I got Peacock. I checked it the day before. It's working. Go down there. It wouldn't go. Like, game time is 2 minutes. I'm going, so I missed the first 15 minutes trying to figure it out. Finally get it going. And
were you able to rewind? How does that work? Even with streaming, you can go back?
You can rewind it,
which
is good. But then there's like these like commercial breaks. They didn't have commercials, and you're just sitting there in the dark, like, well, when's the, and then like it was really clunky.
Interesting.
And so then like at the end of the game, there were commercials, bizarrely. But it was just like you couldn't rewind effectively. And you couldn't fast forward effectively. And then it shut down on me one time again.
I wondered, I go,
God, I was going to switch to YouTube TV, but I'm like, is this what all live sports streaming is going to feel like?
I'm telling you, I
don't know, man.
I streaming.
The picture was bad too.
That's right. It's just frustrating where like where the sports TV experience is. I feel like it's slowly like, is it an inevitability where all sports are on streaming platforms?
Probably.
And I just like cable. I am like, I mean, call me like Mr. like, hey, old guy over here. I'm like, I like cable.
It works the way you want it to work. That's the thing. It's not like the other thing doesn't work, but when it works the way we like it to work, and then the change is a little bit like, it's just, I mean, that, like the DVR on cable,
it works.
It works nice too.
It works.
And when you have it taped and you're like,
that's what, so
really nice.
If we had a different experience, but it still wasn't a good, because I had to watch the replay of it. So I come home last night after I had to MC an event after doing the Creighton North Dakota State game on TV. I come home, I fire up the app, and I couldn't like fast forward. Like at one point I fast forward,
and then you see it's like, oh, we scored.
And they're like, and it took me like, it took me, I literally just hit fast forward seemingly for a little bit, and they were like, you have selected go to the final drive of the game. We're like, no, God, no.
You have selected Chubba's interception. Sorry, I should have said spoiler alert. You have selected it's time to be very, very heartbroken and disappointed. What? Oh, no.
You have selected. Oh, that's really good. That's what it was, though. I mean, that what was up with the fast forward being like, I mean, it would,
So,
and then, oh man,
Peacock didn't do itself any favors with the Big Ten fans. It just went right to.
Oh my God. So what's weird is, so when they would go to commercial, there wouldn't be commercials for you?
For the first half, there would just be like, your program will continue shortly. It would just be like black screen with Peacock.
So for me last night, and this is where, I mean, welcome to a window into the impatient world of human beings in 2023. When they would go to commercial, I had to sit through 60 or 90 seconds of a commercial. There was I couldn't fast forward. So, I mean, I'm sitting there like,
because you had the
I had the replay. So it was like,
but did you have the app that you paid for, or just the free version?
No, I don't know. I used one of my wife's friends' logins.
Maybe we shouldn't say that on.
I don't know. Whatever.
I mean,
I feel like the Peacock police.
Peacock.
You'd be like, sir, you're under arrest for using another.
Some giant peacock shows up in your door and is like, we're big fans of the pod. Cuff 'em, boys. The Peacock
cop. When the Peacock cop comes to your house, it's not good. But I had to sit
So
there.
you borrowed the login, did you?
Borrowed the old login and thought you could get away with it. Cuffin' boys.
Cuffin', boys.
Chief Wiggum. But I mean, it's amazing now how like having to sit when you don't think you should have to, having to sit through 60 or 90 seconds of a commercial. You're like, are you guys serious with this?
Yeah, it's
You have selected Chubb as an
what the heck?
Okay. We'll wrap it up there, but that's how it sounds like we had a very similar experience.
Damn you, Peacock. Damn you.
Oh my God.
Stay tuned till next week for more Chubba Chatter.
Well, hold on. Woo, woo.
Oh,
The Peacock police
run,
are here.
Nick, run!
A Herd at Sports Network production.